The next game that I want to be able to talk about is Century: A New World, the third in the series of the Century line from Plan B Games, designed by Emerson Matsuuchi. Came out at Origins in 2019, and it was one of like two board games that I played at Origins, which I definitely don't want to have happen at Gen Con. When I go to Gen Con, I want it to be board game playing, demoing heavy. Don't get me wrong, I still want to chat with people, but Gen Con I think can also be too crazy for that to a certain extent. So I really want to make it game focused. But I regress. Century: A New World is a worker placement game. And in this worker placement game, what you're going to be doing, and please forgive this screenshot. For those people that see this screenshot, for those watching at Twitch right now, this board is set up completely wrong. You will notice that the game boards are pointing in the exact 90-degree turn that they shouldn't be. In the game, and the markers are supposed to be face up instead of face down. So in reality, we almost kind of played it in hard mode. Alas, that did not detract from our enjoyment of the game.
Really good.
Oh, and also to bring it back just a tiny bit, I've played this game a total of 3 times. So just to know where my impressions are coming from at this time, I've played this game 3 times, and I continue to play this. I want to continue to bring this out more to the table because it is a easy teach. It's a fun play. It's very quick. As soon as you do your turns, it's like, you're thinking about your turn and like, oh yeah, I got all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's your turn again, Ryan. And you're like, whoa, I just took my turn. It's one of those types of games. So c'est la vie. Anyways, in this game, again, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be placing these little meeples out into specific areas of the board to be gaining resources. So there's corn, there's meat, there's wheat, and then there's fur. And you're going to be taking those items and you're going to be collecting them. And there is a series of cards that you can see at the top or at the top of the game board, but in the screenshot, it's going to be to the left. And you're going to be spending those collected cubes to be able to purchase these cards. And what's really unique about these cards is that it not only gives you points for the end of the game, but it also nets you these specific types of icons. And these icons help you because there's another part to this whole process that when you purchase one of these cards, you can also pick up kind of what's considered a bonus tile. And these bonus tiles state on the tile that if you can collect kind of a series of these different types of icons, such as a dream catcher, such as a bear's claw, you will get points for those matches or sets that you get, which tally towards, the end of the game scoring. And so play continues where you just are throwing everything out on the board. And if you can't throw anything else onto the board, you can spend a turn to gather all of your workers back so that next turn you can go ahead and start playing them back onto the board again. You will also notice as well, or you will also know during the time you play the game, that there will be what are called exploration tiles. And so not all of the quadrants in this board game are available to put out at the beginning of the game. You have to explore this new world. And I'm going to go back to our live view because I reminded myself. There we go.
Oh, good job.
So you're going to be going and exploring these new different tiles to gain bonus icons, bonus points, but then you also open that up for other workers to be placed there, whether they be for upgrades, whether it be for trading, etc., right? So the different types of things that you can put your workers on are gathering a certain type of resource. So the more workers you place onto a space, the more valuable of a resource that you'll get, right? And so then what you can do then is you can then do that, and then you can also trade it to downgrade some of your items, which might be useful for some of the cards that come out. Once again, going back to those big tarot cards, because these tarot cards do a lot of things. So not only do you use them to know how much they're purchasable for, you get points, you get the icons, but then you also get a little buff from them. So for instance, you might be able to get a card that says, oh, anytime that you put a worker next to a wheat icon, it costs you 1 less worker. Hooray! Or maybe you get an extra worker from the pile from your reserve that you can then bring onto your player board to be placed amongst all the other workers. And you will continue this until someone has accumulated 8 of these tarot cards, and then you do up in-game scoring, and the game is over. I have not played a Century game, so A New World was my first ever one, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Interesting.
I thought it was great. I thought it was quick and fun. The first game that we played, as you can tell from that screenshot, we did not decipher the rules all that well. Okay, so
great,
it was a little bit hard. But as we played it a second and a third time, you start to unravel kind of the intricacies of how the rules set up and things like that. And the second time I played it, it went well at 3-player, and then I played another 3-player game as well. So I played it 2 at 3-player, 1 at 2-player. I think I played it with Brittany.
Was Emerson at Origins?
Yes, yeah, he signed my copy.
He was, right?
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he
that's
signed my
right.
copy.
And actually, if you guys are interested, we did speak with him about this. Man, what was that, like 3-4 months ago?
Yeah, we talked about it like 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, so if you're interested in hearing his development or just his process, I don't know what we talked about back then. That was 4 months ago.
It was 4 months ago. So long
but it was
ago.
super interesting.
Yeah, you can find that in our YouTube. We'll back either in your favorite podcast application. Go back.
Yeah.
It's called The History of Matsuuchi. Or you can just find it. We might have segmented it out. I'm not sure.
I'm sure we did. I remember. Okay, so with this being your first one, does it make you want to go back and play the other two?
So I purchased a Century Spice Road again.
Yeah, you did.
So luckily what happened was, though, is that a local game store had a used copy with actually some of the upgraded coins.
Oh.
So I actually purchased it lower than it is at retail with some upgrades. So
Nice.
I'm really happy about that. Plus, it gives you the rule sets for any sort of mixture between the three. And I also have a game mat that includes all that stuff too. So very cool.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening with that.
So I'm very interested in that whole series. I haven't played any of them, to be honest, because I love the theming of not the Eastern Wonders, but what's the other theming they did for Spice Road?
Spice Road is going to be more like your Middle Eastern, like spice trading. And then Eastern Wonders is more of like an aquatic, like jungle Amazon.
That's right.
Like kind of thing. Also, I also just rethought of this. If I rewind all the way to the back of the start, I want to talk about the artwork too.
Oh,
Who designed the artwork? So Chris Quillams did the artwork and or graphic design along with it's Atea. Oh my gosh. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. I wrote it down. Atea Kanani and Chris Quillams' team worked on the graphic design and or artwork of A Century New World, which looks great. The box cover is awesome. It really draws you in. Just the board itself is a little busy in terms of some of the layout and things, and that's why I think they had to make some of the meeples really small. So a lot of people had problems with how small the meeples were. They were like more than half the size of a regular standard meeple. And I think the reason why you do that is because as you put them out into these little spaces for the amount of table space that the game takes up, what can end up happening is that you can also place, if someone has meeples in an area that you want to do an action on, you can do that action, but you have to match their meeple count +1, and then all of those meeples then get kicked back to that person. So you can just have a lot of these meeples out on the board, and when it's utilized to be able to understand what type of action you're doing and how much of a meeple or how much like meeples you need to put onto that space, like you can have a really crowded area. So I could understand why maybe on a production level they were like, I really maybe want to have the meeples be smaller so that it, at a 4-player game, it's not going to be a complete mess in terms of the concern of visibility.
Yeah.
But the exploration tiles that go out everywhere, there was a little bit of confusion of where they should go, and it's just like, well, you want to be able to have can you have them placed where you can see what the tile is, but still ensure that it's locked. It's one of these visual concerns and things that it's it doesn't really detract. It's just kind of really confusing as you start that game in which you're learning it by yourself to kind of be confident where you're placing things.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. So the Gollum edition is the one I was thinking of. Thank you, Tim,
Yeah.
in the chat for saying that. Also, mixing all of them, it does sound really cool. He has some hesitation about that, and I wonder if that confirms what I was thinking before about how that might be a bit gimmicky. I still think it'd be fun to try
Hmm.
all three combined. I
Yeah.
don't, but that's me having no experience with any of them
Yeah.
at all. But I think it's a cool concept. I think that concept can be pushed further at this point, right? Like having this concept of games being meshed together to create a different experience.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's fascinating.
Yep.
That's super cool.
Yeah, Emerson, I think, did a great job. Plan B also did a great job. Again, there are some concerns. Well, even remember, Emerson told us that I think it was a miscommunication of him stating that he wanted to like mix like three different mechanisms in one game. They're like, oh, you can take three games with a mechanism each and combine them into three, and they're like, okay.
All right.
So it's
That's
like,
right.
what a crazy story, and he pulled it off. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
if we can look at that series as a whole, I think we can consider it a positive success. I mean, that's
Oh,
kind of
totally.
a one, like that is not something you see every day, if at all. So like,
Oh, right.
congrats to those guys. I think they did a wonderful job. I am gonna echo Tim in the chat. He's a fantastic designer and a fantastic person. I am hesitant as well, especially getting Eastern Wonders. I want to be able to pick up Eastern Wonders probably a little bit under MSRP to be able to feel confident in wanting to try it. I'd probably want to pick it up around like $15 or something like that, just to be able to
that's
feel.
interesting.
And that's why I ended up picking up Spice Road, is because it was like $17 with all the things. And so I for sure want to, after playing a new world, I'm like, oh, I really want to go back and at least maybe give a shot at what it's like to compare 1 and 3 together, because I
Yeah.
think that's really cool. So
Oh yeah, that's a cool concept. That's awesome.
yeah, so Century: A New World by Emerson Matsuuchi, Plan B Games.